Hi, my name's Erica Gamut and welcome to my video channel. Today we're going to dive into some more GREP in InDesign. And today we're going to look at finding patterns of text in specific locations. And we're also going to do something called escaping, which sounds intriguing. So let's see what that's all about. So I'm just going to go ahead and we'll just jump right into it. In this video, I'm going to talk about a couple things that sound more like a travel adventure sort of thing than GREP, and that's locations and escaping. So it sounds adventurous, let's jump in. It's a GREP adventure ready to go. So let's start off with locations. I mentioned in an earlier video that I would talk about how we can define our pattern and tell it where that occurs in our particular story. So for instance, if I just want to find the beginning of a paragraph, and not just find the beginning of the paragraph, but find text that happens at the beginning of a paragraph, as we're building our string, I might need to limit it to just happening at the beginning of the paragraph. So I'm going to go ahead and select this text frame, and again I want to search simply by story instead of searching a whole document. I like to keep my focus very tight on what it is I'm looking for, so I'm not formatting things on a page later on that I'm not even thinking might fit that pattern. So I want to go ahead and tell it, find something at the beginning of a paragraph. So I'm going to go ahead and go up into my Find What. I want to make sure that I'm in the GREP tab here and not in the Text tab. So I'm in the GREP tab and say Find What, and I'm going to go over to the little secret menu over here and click on that and tell it, come down to locations and tell it that I'm looking for the beginning of a paragraph. And that's going to give us the little caret character. And we're going to see that a lot. And we're also going to see in the next portion of this video, which is escaping, that certain characters obviously have special meaning and what to do when we need the actual literal character. Well, caret is kind of a funny guy because he means one thing if he's in a certain location and another if he's somewhere else. For instance, if he's within parentheses, he means something else entirely. So he's kind of a little shapeshifter. So in this case, when I just put a caret, that means find the beginning of a paragraph. So let's just do that. Just find the beginning of the paragraph in this text frame. I'll say find next, and we get the cursor goes to the jumps to the front of that line that's there. We'll say find next and find next. And for whatever reason, sometimes it does not find everything and I have to come down to the next one and say find that, and then it might find the next one. Or if it's somewhere later, it's because it gets caught in sort of a loop. If I say find next, it's like I already found that in that paragraph. And one thing that you'll find with InDesign, when InDesign's doing a search, it goes paragraph by default. So anyway, it found the beginning of the paragraph. Maybe here I want to find a lowercase at the beginning of the paragraph. So I would say find the beginning of a paragraph followed by a lowercase character. And in an earlier video, we realized what lowercase character was. It's backslash lowercase l. But let's say I didn't know that. I can come over to the secret menu and come down here to wildcards and choose any lowercase letter. So now I've told it look for the beginning of the paragraph followed by a lowercase character. So let's just go ahead and select this frame and start our search, say find next, and we can come in here and we see that it says that this is selected. Don't mind the blue, that's a new feature in the newest version of InDesign that actually gives us alternate letters here. So that has nothing to do with GREP, I just didn't want you to think that it did. So normally you would just see it highlighted unless you have this new version and you have that feature turned on. So it found that F for us. Now what I could do with that is I could go ahead and format it to capitals. So if I say change formatting and I come down to character styling and case, I could say change it to all caps. So what that's going to do is find any place where at the beginning of a paragraph I didn't capitalize a letter, and it will capitalize it for me. So if I say change, it's going to go ahead and change that for me. So now I make sure that I don't have any lowercase characters at the beginning of the paragraph. Some of the other locations that are there, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And we'll go ahead and select the frame again. So it'll start the search from the beginning. And I want to clear out this formatting as well, because right now we're just finding stuff. We're not really doing much in the way of formatting. So I just want to tell it some other places we can look for. Location, we can say the end of the word. So end of any word. We can also do a beginning of word and end of word, and that way we keep our searches to individual words that are there. For instance, if I wanted to find the word any and I want it to be just the word any, like, let's actually put some other text in here really quick. So I have the word many, and I want to say, no, look within a word boundary. I want it to just be any. So I come in here and I can say location, and I can say word boundary, and that will set up the beginning, and then I'll type in ANY for any, and then I'll also say word boundary as well. And we'll say find next, and it only finds any. It didn't find many because I've told it, I've sort of bookended those. I've said only find it when this word is the actual entire word. If I didn't have those word boundaries, or I didn't tell it a location, and I just said any, it's going to go ahead and also find the ANY in many. So you can see where location lets us be more specific on our specific searches that are there. So again, just play with those, the locations, find that beginning or end of a paragraph, end of story. We can do end of paragraph. This is nice. Let's not do any at the end of a paragraph because we don't have that. So again, select the frame, find next. Hopefully you can see that we actually have that highlighted there. It's a really thin cursor. Find next, and it just jumps to the end of each of those to the end of each of those paragraphs that are there. Now the reason the cursor isn't very thick is because it's not finding an existing character. It's just a location, so it doesn't actually have a character to highlight in that case. But that comes in handy if you want to find everywhere you have a period at the end of a paragraph. So I can come in here and I'll say period, and in a second I'm going to show you how we're going to do a period. So we'll do that in just this next section here. So let's go ahead and jump into that. I want to say find a period. Well, if I just type period, we learned in an earlier video that period meant any character. That's a wildcard for any character. So I'm going to delete that because that $, what that means is end of a paragraph. And so again, I'm going to do any character, which is a period. But I'm actually looking for an actual literal period. If I just say find any period and say next, it's going to find everything except the hard returns. It's going to find tabs and white spaces, letters, numbers. It doesn't care because that is the GREP expression for any character. So if I want to find an actual period, I need to do what's called escaping. And escaping means that I add, or in many cases, subtract that backslash that's there. So in this case, I'm going to come over here and just put a backslash in front of that period. And what that does is it says now instead of period meaning any character, it means a literal period. So I've told it look for an actual period. And I also want it to be only periods that happen at the end of that paragraph. So we come over here, locations, and say end of paragraph. All right, so let's, for fun, put a period somewhere in the middle here so it does not find that one as well. Again, we want to put in what we think will fit the pattern and what we want to make sure does not fit the pattern, and then run tests on it to make sure that our expression is good. So I'll say find next, and it only finds that period that's at the end of the paragraph. All right, so that's how we do a search for a location and an escaped character. Let's look at escaping a little bit more as well. I'm going to come back up here. And in an earlier video, we learned that any digit is \D. Well, if I want to look for a literal D, I need to remove the backslash. So it's kind of confusing that most of the time a special character is just the character itself, and to escape it, to look for that literal character, I need to add a backslash. Digit's a little different. That special character includes the backslash, so I need to take it off. So again, like I said, it gets confusing. If I'm looking for an actual letter D, I need to make sure I have no backslash. So one thing that I do a lot is I will add backslashes where there aren't any. If something isn't working, I'll add them in. And sometimes I've put too many in, and sometimes that doesn't matter if there's too many, and sometimes it does because it means something entirely different. So it's just one of those things you'll kind of get a feel for it after a while. For me, if something's not working, I throw in some backslashes, see if it works. Some of the other characters that we see a lot are brackets. So whether they're the square brackets or the curly brackets, and we also use parentheses a lot. All of those mean something specific in GREP. So when I'm looking for those actual characters, I need to throw in a backslash in front of each of those. Backslash square bracket, backslash curly bracket, backslash open parenthesis. We'll actually find those individual specific characters that are there. And that's called escaping. I don't know why, maybe because it drives you so crazy you just want to run away. I'm not sure. But for me, like I said, throw in the backslashes if you think you need them. Take them out if it's not working. See if that helps. You're going to end up seeing a lot of backslashes in your GREP expressions that you create. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope that you will continue to like and thumbs up these videos if you like them. Obviously, that's my goal. I want to hear from you what you would like to hear. Make sure I'm covering stuff that you want to hear about. So leave me a comment in the comments section below, or go ahead and hit me up on Twitter or Instagram. I'm at Erica Gamet on both of those platforms, and all around social media at Erica Gamet. Wherever you leave me comments, be sure that you use the hashtag #LearnWithErica. I hope you'll join me again next week, and until then, bye-bye.